We back in this thing. Welcome back to the Classics, the cinematic movie podcast that takes you back to the iconic films of 20 years ago. Let's do it again. Yeah, boy, we're back in this thing. Welcome back to the Classics, the cinematic movie podcast that takes you back to the iconic films of 20 years ago. I am your guy, Jay Alonzo. Welcome back. We're right here on iHeartRadio, and I am joined today by a good friend of mine. You've heard his voice before. He's going to be hanging out with me for a few episodes, and I can't thank him enough for ride with me in the DeLorean. Welcome back, fellow movie buff, sports columnist, my guy, your guy, David Neff. What's up, man?
Hey, yo, what's going on, man? It's good to be back into the studio. Let's do this.
Welcome back, man. What's going on?
Not much, man. Same old, same old. Just got back from vacation, feeling good overall. And, I finally got in this movie earlier today, so feels pretty fresh in my mind overall.
How's the kickoff of 2018 been for you? You know what?
Actually, it's been not going as stellar as it could have been, but, everything can turn around, right?
Right on. So, let me ask you this. So obviously it's New Year, new movies. What are you looking the most forward to in 2018?
Oh, man. See, I grew up as a Star Wars fan, so, I kind of got my fill with The Last Jedi. Mm-hmm. And obviously people are going to bring up the Solo movie. I think for now it's probably going to be the new Avengers movie. We've been having this build up now since we basically just got out of high school, and it's been such a huge culmination of events to finally get to this point. And it's time. It's time for the cycle to start ending and for things to start finishing up. How about you?
I'm on the same boat. I definitely say that Avengers is on my top list. I just was talking to some friends of mine about the movie, and they said they have 76 characters in this movie.
Oh my god!
So that's like 76 people with screen time.
It's gonna be like a 4-hour movie. It's gonna be Ben-Hur all over again.
I don't mind that it's gonna be long. But with that many characters, come on, I don't mind it being that long.
No,
but let's give it a proper roundup. Let's all make it come to an end. We're talking with 17 movies leading up to this.
Is it really 17?
We're talking 3 Iron Mans. We're talking 3 Captain Americas. We're talking 3 Thors, 2 Guardians, 1 Hulk, 2 Avenger movies, Doctor Strange. It's been a few.
That is a little ridiculous. No, it's time. And the problem is that you're going to start getting close to fatigue of a movie central. And the thing is that the MCU has done so well, and now with their recent acquisition of Fox, it's only going to get even bigger with them, with X-Men coming over and Silver Surfer, which I'm sure everybody would be ecstatic to see what would happen with that. The Fantastic Four franchise could really use a reboot.
They need a reboot as bad as Harvey Weinstein needs a new career.
Oh man.
I mean, but you know what? I feel as if this was in the cards to begin with. I feel like with Infinity War right around the corner is going to pretty much wrap up the phases as we know them. Major deaths are going to happen in this movie, major. And I think to kick off the next of what they're saying, the cosmic galaxy. I feel like X-Men can fit in there. Fantastic Four could definitely fit in there for sure.
Oh, it can. You know what they need to do, honestly, is that it's time to break the formula a little bit. It's time to just, now that they've kind of made all this money with the MCU, now it's just time to make movies weird. Because comic books, after a while, they just start really getting weird with people coming back and forth and back and forth. And the thing is,
you gotta shake it up. You gotta shake it up.
It's time. You can only have Tony Stark for so long. The beauty about comic books is that a comic book hero doesn't have to age. Whereas, Robert Downey Jr., he's getting up there and he's going to want to hang up the coat. Same thing with Captain America. He's going to want to hang it up. So bring in some fresh blood. Not only bring in fresh blood, but really make the stories out there. Just really, really, really incredibly weird. And I think that's what comic book fans are looking most forward to, going past, the Thanos and Infinity War.
Dope. So now we're getting into Oscar season. The infamous and yet the most highly coveted Oscar season.
Yeah.
So with everything that we've gotten in 2017, what would you like to see as far as like the best picture category? 'Cause you know, they get 10. They get 10 slots.
Of course.
And so for me, I would say that movies that I know and also definitely wish and I hope will make, you know, one of those slots, Get Out.
Yeah.
I would love to see Get Out in there. 3 Billboards Outside of Ebbing, Missouri. It won the best picture at the Globes. Would love to see that in there. Would love to see the Disaster Artist make that 10 slot.
Did you ever watch The Room?
Yes, and that's what actually made me want to go see the movie. Because I'll tell you a quick story. But before I get to the story, what would you like to see in the best picture slot?
For starters, I would really like for there not to be any controversy and no mistake to happen this time. If you remember last Oscar season,
Between Moonlight and
was
Moonlight and
it was La La Land.
La La Land. There we go.
And Moonlight, because it was when it was first announced, it was like the first musical to win Best Picture since Lord knows, I can't remember how long.
Chicago, probably. No, it might.
No, I don't even think. Yeah, it might have been Chicago. I think you're right on Chicago. But it had been so long, and then when that mistake happened, and after so many years of mistakes, Steve Harvey's probably like smiling big now because he's getting that Family Feud money. He's like, hey, I don't have to do this anymore.
So clearly I didn't do it.
This, so.
that clearly wasn't me.
So number one would be that. Movie-wise, Lady Bird.
Great movie.
That is a really, really, really strong movie in general to get in there. I was a fan of Baby Driver, and I thought it was a pretty underrated movie overall.
It was.
But I don't think it's going to get the recognition now, especially with everything that's
Kevin Spacey.
What actor now? Which actor hasn't been a controversy?
Well, the doctor.
I feel like the end of 2017 was, oh, hey, by the way, all your childhood heroes are all monsters.
All scum. It's Kevin Spacey, which probably hurt me the most because, Spacey is, in my opinion, one of the greatest actors of our time.
Amazing.
So to hear that he's, a.k.a. Dr. Touchbutt, it's like, dude, I don't, I couldn't fathom the idea. But then, like you said, every week it was a new name, like Dustin Hoffman and Michael Douglas, who jumped in front of a bullet before the bullet actually came, and even Aziz Ansari, but for him, he had a bad date,
right?
But they want to cover it as like a sexual harassment, like, dude, nah.
No. And the thing is that, there were a couple guys that really affected me. Louis C.K. being one of them, because I still listen to stand-ups and I enjoyed what I listened to and I thought it was really funny. Mm-hmm. Now knowing what I know, I mean, it's kind of brings a little bit of a sour taste into your mouth now.
Definitely.
Listening to it. And the thing is, man, is that, it's kind of funny because they mentioned, they would mention an actor's name, and immediately after a while, your thought was, "Oh God, what did they do now?"
Right.
William Dafoe, what did he do?
Like, no, he's fine. He's fine. He's cool.
He's cool. He's up for a nomination.
But,
it's like, thank God.
Okay, all right.
You know what? That's a good question. What actor would really surprise you if, what actor wouldn't surprise you if something came out like that? Just something weird. It doesn't even have to be that offbeat.
I don't know, because I feel like almost every actor that they've dropped, like, no, not him too. Like, when it blew past actors, now it's like coveted news anchors, fucking, label heads, Matt Lauer, Charlie Rose of all people. It's like, okay, what the hell's going on? Seriously, it's disease out there. But to go back to your question about The Room, the first time I seen The Room was I just moved to LA, and I believe I was watching Adult Swim, and what I thought was going to be Tim and Eric's show. And I was really into Tim and Eric's show. Correct, I wasn't really into it. I was getting ready for like Family Guy, for their late night slot. And it was April Fool's Day. And they actually ran The Room all night. You know what I'm saying? So when I caught it from the beginning, I said, what the fuck is this? And I couldn't believe. Like, it was a terrible movie. but yet I couldn't stop watching.
It's really bad.
It's horrible, but I couldn't stop watching it.
But I feel like he's kind of like a personal hero, because you know what? It's like I think of movies that probably should have really, really terrible acting, and then I look at The Room and I'm like, well, at least it's not The Room. So it's kind of like it's hit that legendary status for me. That's like this is something that needs to be thrown on like CBS once every 6 months, just to make sure that people are still paying attention to what CBS is like.
Well.
Make it into a TV movie.
I feel like The Room. I feel like The Room now is accomplishing something that it never really set out to do, but it's now getting the praise and the recognition that Tommy Wiseau essentially wanted to get.
Right.
So when I saw The Disaster Artist, I'm thinking, who better to bring the making of this horrible movie to life than, Franco, Rogan, those guys, because like I know it's not going to be simply, hey, let's poke fun at this movie. No. It's a movie with so much heart. It's a movie with Franco kills it as Tommy Wiseau, and you really do get a different look at Wiseau and what he does, what he did, and he's an asshole through and through. We know that for a fact, but the overall, the overall message for The Room is, don't give up on your dreams.
No.
And if you can't, much like how we do with this podcast, like if you can't find that avenue to broadcast, to showcase your talent, create your own.
Right, exactly.
You know what I mean? So for that, it definitely gives you a different outlook on The Room. So for that, I appreciate it. And then I feel like it took Franco to actually do it. Now, I'm really waiting on The Room Disaster Artist double feature somewhere.
Of course.
I can't wait to go to that.
It's going to be like a $15 movie, $12.50.
I will pay it.
Disaster Artist.
I will pay it. No problem. You understand that? I have no problem paying that. So let's get into this thing, man. Are you ready for 2-minute drill?
I am.
All right. So let me get this clock ready. As you being the guest, you're probably going to get all the answers correct because
I just watched it.
I did too. The movie's hard to get through. So 2-minute drill. First question's on you. 2-minute drill starts now.
Okay. How much money was actually being stolen?
$3 million.
That's right.
Yeah. Who plays Mr. Mailer?
Oh, man. Oh, you might actually got me on that.
10 seconds.
Mailer? I know the actor. I can't think of his name. 4, 3, it's not
2, 1. No, it's actually Dan Florek, who is also he's also the captain on Law and Order SVU. All right, go ahead.
What was the name? Where was the money buried at initially?
And
what was the name of that site?
It was a cemetery.
Of course.
But the name of the cemetery.
Not the cemetery, but like the name of the grave that he was buried.
Ooh, damn, you got me. 4 seconds. Shit. I don't know. Portman. There we go. Okay, so let's see. I need a good question. Okay. Jim reveals who was never coming.
Oh yeah, that's the National Guard.
That is correct.
I'm gonna see if I can trick you on this one. One of the big selling points of actually, how about this? What was the original name of this movie?
Oh, The Flood.
Yeah.
Now I knew that from growing up.
Right.
Yes, I knew that from growing up. Because remember the original trailer had the Flood in the title.
That's right.
We got 14 seconds. Okay. I need a good one. What actor's in this movie that we've never seen since then?
Oh God.
Correction. He's one of the main characters.
Oh.
That's time.
Randy Quaid.
That was exactly where I was going with that.
I think Randy Quaid wound up being in Vegas Vacation, which I can't remember if that came out before.
Vegas Vacation came last year.
No,
year before last year. Actually.
The year before last year. But yeah, no, Randy Quaid, no doubt about it.
Somebody we just do not see ever. Like,
well, he kind of made his bed and lie in it.
Yeah.
To be honest, Now that's a guy that wouldn't be surprised if
they dropped his name today. Like, oh, see, I knew
Quaid
was a weird fucker. Yeah, I knew Quaid was a weirdo for sure. Well, if you don't know what movie we're taking it back to, we're going back to the year 1998 with the Morgan Freeman, Christian Slater. Not a disaster flick. It's a heist thriller.
That's right.
That's set to the tone of a disaster.
So I think this actually worked out against the movie more than anything, because if you remember during that time, in 1998, movies like Armageddon would come out. 1997 had Dante's Peak. Even 1997 had Volcano that came out. So, and Twister also came out. So you had these like disaster flicks, and it was like a huge market for it. And for whatever reason, the marketing team did not want it to be known as a disaster flick. Strictly a heist flick, which
set to the backdrop of a disaster.
Which would be really, really. I mean, that concept is cool, but that mix mash. I mean, heist didn't really become re-popular again until the early 2000s.
Right.
Ocean's 11.
Right.
You know, and man, I feel like that was a missed opportunity, because the movie overall is fine. You know, it has a lot of pacing issues, but a lot of pacing issues. Like, let me be fair.
For a movie that's only an hour and 37 minutes, 36 minutes long, it feels so much longer.
It really feels like I was sitting there looking at the clock, and I was like, "What? There's still 30 minutes left.
There's still more story to tell.
There's still."
We're taking it back to Hard Rain. Original release date January 16th, 1998. Shares opening weekend with Fallen, the movie we covered last week, and Half Baked, a movie we covered 420 last year. Production budget $70 million with a box office total of $19.9 million. Movie made no money back. Currently sitting at a 29% on Rotten Tomatoes. Is that fair, David?
Yes.
Yes, it is.
Yes. Let me be fair. When I say that the movie is fine, that doesn't necessarily mean that I would nominate for an Oscar or anything. It's fine for watching it once a lifetime, and you should be okay with that. But there are some really, really interesting facts with this movie. A lot of people like to consider this a spiritual sequel
to Speed.
Because it is written by the same person, Graham Yost, who would wind up actually becoming a major writer over the next few years, especially with that. Very similar in styles in terms of plotting with a character that's a cop, but he's not really doing cop things. And in this case, Christian Slater isn't considered a cop, but he's doing cop-like things in the process, and he's waiting for authority to kind of come in, but he kind of takes over things. The one setting of in Speed was the bus, and this a lot of it was either the water or the boat itself, and of course the big factor of it. These were both heist movies.
Absolutely.
At the end of the day,
absolutely.
You know, and a lot of people wanted this money. A lot of people. This is think of the rinky-dinkiest town that you could possibly find, and flood every floor all the way up to the roof of it, and try to imagine stealing every bit of dollar that you can from there. And that's kind of the premise of Hard Rain.
What I most admire about this movie was it's set during what they say is the worst rainstorm in the history of the Midwestern United States. And so, you know, you're in this small town, so when the rain actually hits, it hits hard.
Yeah.
You know, you have the armored truck drivers played by Christian Slater and his uncle played by Ed Asner. Is he dead? I don't think he's dead, is he?
I don't think so. I know that every time that I go on.
No, he is not. Let me not kill Ed Asner today because good.
It's a good thing.
But they're collecting money from the from local banks affected by the rising flood waters. Eventually, the water does get mighty high. You know what I mean?
Oh, it's ridiculous.
Oh, yeah. And so they're in a small town. I believe that the town is Huntingburg, Indiana.
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah, it's a small town. And which, you know, as a whole has been evacuated. So Tom and Charlie, they drive into this ditch and they get stuck. Charlie calls for the dispatch to alert the National Guard. But then out of nowhere, they get ambushed.
Yeah.
By Jim, played by Morgan Freeman, an actor who was born at 45.
Yeah.
And in his gang of robbers, you have Kenny, Mr. Mailer, and Ray, played by the late great Ricky Harris, rest in peace. And from then on, now we have this balls to the wall action flick. Now Kenny shoots Charlie.
Yes.
Kills him off top.
Yeah.
Which is hardcore because I remember rewatching this movie today, and when they just take out Charlie like that.
Yeah.
And it genuinely hurt.
Yeah.
Because they really do set up a character. They set this character up to at least, he's a goner.
Right.
But at least he's somebody that, he sticks with Tom. He's Tom's second in command. And it's his uncle. Yeah, it's his uncle. So when they take him out earlier in the movie, I'm like, oh, dude.
Well, it's more than just that. The director was really smart, and the writing was really smart to kind of have you connect just a little bit to Uncle Charlie, because he said in general that, hey, I know this is just kind of a crap job, but hey, I got you this job. Right. Like you kind of need to be here. You need to be with me to do this job. Make sure that we do the work. And what's wrong with this job? I've worked it for so long, and all this jazz.
Right. So after Charlie gets shot, Tom breaks away with the $3 million in cash to the cemetery. He's being chased through a local middle school. You know what? Let me stop right there. Let me start right there, because this movie is one of the reasons why I do appreciate it, even though, let's be real, it's not the easiest movie to get through.
No.
But it's one of those movies where it's no bullshit. They literally get right to the issue.
No.
Almost like right after the opening credits. And you appreciate that, because there's not a whole lot of time for setup.
No, there isn't.
It's just Paramount Pictures presents Hard Rain. Action, let's go, know?
Yeah, I mean, in a sense, they could have done, a lot of movies at that point would have done like a news story shows the worst rain in Indiana history is about to, but they didn't do that. You assumed by how hard it was actually raining that this was kind of a serious case, and it showed that right in the first scene, because Randy Quaid, who plays the former sheriff,
good old Randy,
that's right, is directing people out of town and is literally saying, "You got to get out of here, or else I'm gonna have to lock you out. This town is being abandoned." Totally, completely. Mm-hmm. And that's incredibly frightening when you put that into real life terms. It's like, oh, I'm not going home tonight because the rain is so bad and everything is so bad. Makes you kind of think, obviously, of last year's events that happened down in Houston, that happened, New Orleans. Obviously, there's all sorts of issues that happened there, Puerto Rico, everything that happened there. So it's like, even though this came out 20 years beforehand, I kind of laugh, because I'm like, oh man, they're predicting global warming already.
Well, it's been so many movies that really do predict global warming. It's like they might how many like Simpsons episodes have really come true.
Well, okay, well,
Trump.
Predict Trump.
Yeah, Trump being president. Hopefully, well, I wish death on nobody, but there is an episode when Trump does die. So let's just see what happens.
Let's hope that.
There's some truth to it.
Let's hope that it doesn't go to that extreme. How about that?
Yeah. Yeah, okay. So Tom is being chased through this local middle school by the gang. Basically, he's traveling with a boat and jet skis. Speedboats, yeah. Tom, he hides out in this nearby church. He gets knocked out, and he wakes up in the cell at the local sheriff's office. Obviously, the sheriff being good old Sheriff Mike Collins, played by Randy Quaid. And he's telling them about the gang and the area that he hid the money, although Mike keeps him locked up.
Yeah.
So he and the chief deputy, I believe his name was Wayne.
Yes.
Played by Mark Rolston, if I'm not.
Yes.
Yeah. Got you. They leave to investigate while another officer, Officer Field, is ordered to take Karen, played by Minnie Driver, another person you don't see often in movies anymore.
No, and there's kind of a reason with that. Minnie Driver is also a really talented singer, and so for a long time, like during that path, because she got big during Good Will Hunting, like
right.
everybody adored her in that movie,
right?
And she played some parts afterwards, but she really wanted to focus on like her music career, and actually has produced somewhere in the longs of like 5 or 6 CDs.
Wow!
At this point, like it's actually kind of taken off for her.
But have you heard any of them?
No.
That's all right, yeah.
But then again, who buys CDs?
in 2018, right? But turns out Karen is one who actually knocks out Tom.
Yes.
And she's currently restoring the church out of town. Of course, in protest, she pushes Phil off the boat so she'll be able to fill the water pumps for the church.
Right.
So let me ask you this. The town's dam continues to experience that huge pressure from the rain, and then you get the operator. The operator name is Hank.
Right.
Hank. He's forced to open up another spillway floodgate, and this causes a huge burst of water to like stream through the town, and resulting in worse flooding. So let's just say you are the operator. If you're Hank in this position, okay. What's your first thought? Like, what are you gonna do when you're faced with that type of pressure?
Well, honestly, you got to kind of do your job. I mean, you're assuming that law enforcement has evacuated everybody.
You assume,
yeah, you assume that everybody.
but there's also some dirty shit below the surface.
Of course. But it's like, man, that kind of job, you just you got to be on point. You got to be like ready to make that judgment call.
Right
there. You know, it's. Jordan,
even though what you do is going to create a bigger issue.
I think they already cut their losses at that point. To be honest, I mean, why wouldn't you evacuate the town if you didn't believe so in the first place?
Very true.
You know, you got to cut your losses. You got to realize, well, hey, there's a very good chance that this town's not going to exist anymore, and that's that.
It gets drowned out.
Right.
You know, especially at the church.
Literally.
The church itself gets almost the bulk of most of the damage.
Right.
You know? Tom wakes up in his cell. He's trapped as the building that he's in slowly fills up with water.
This is a badass scene.
This is a badass scene. Actually, probably one of the best scenes in the movie.
Yeah.
After filling the pumps at the church, Karen comes back, saves him by opening the light fitting on the roof for him to escape.
Right. Now,
badass scene though.
Now, real quick. Okay, so in video games now, you know, you always are presented like, oh, you have to do this option. This option doesn't work. You have to do this option. It doesn't work. Then you have to do this, then this, and this, and keep going, thinking that it's going to be like Dire Straits. To give you an idea, Tom tries to pull over because he sees a pair of keys on the desk.
Right.
So what winds up happening is that it gets so flooded that the drawer opens up, which might be continuing errors. That's completely up to you guys. So he pulls this desk over with the belt. He then grabs the keys. He tries to unlock the gate for him to get out. And come to find out that the keys go to a Ford vehicle that was parked out front. So you think all Dire Straits. Then a telephone pole basically crashes through his gate, but because of the water pressure, he can't open up the gate. So then he is forced to basically float to the top of the gate where he finds a pipe and begins to breathe out of this said pipe because at this point he's completely submerged. Where Karen comes out of nowhere with the Swiss Army knife, which, by the way, great little spot for a Swiss Army knife right there. You know, if Swiss Army was paying for any sort of sponsorship.
Good old pub.
First off, I don't know why they would pay for a sponsorship, but if they decided to do so, man, did they nail it with this spot.
Oh, my God.
You know, she unscrews the top of this cage, rescuing Tom right out of there.
All right, so let's talk about something real quick. I know she just celebrated her birthday, but Betty White is in this movie, playing the role of Doreen. And let me just flat out say, Betty White is like America's grandma. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, somebody you're just filled with joy when you see her. You know what I'm saying? As somebody who has, what is she, like 97 now?
She's right there.
She's there.
She's there at the century.
But somebody that you still find genuine joy when you watch her old work. You know what I mean? So shout out to Betty White. Kenny grabs Tom, and they both fall in the water, but Tom fights him off before Kenny is electrocuted, and of course later dies.
Right.
Now Tom and Karen they go to the nearby house, and the locals, which is Betty White, who plays Doreen, and her husband is Henry.
Right.
And they believe that they're looters.
Right.
So another great scene for me as well.
Because in 1973 they got looters when something similar of this nature happened in this town. So it goes back to the Midwest question, like, is it just a natural disaster phenomenon that just kind of happens there with tornadoes?
Just there in particular.
You know, and these people, you know, they're dedicated, they're loyal. They want to stay. We'll stay and rebuild.
Who knew? I'm getting out of there, and I'm gonna build elsewhere actually. But after they explain their story, Henry decides to give Tom the boat, their boat rather,
right.
So he can get back to the armored truck.
Right.
When he resurfaces from now the submerged truck, he finds Jim and the gang holding, of course, Doreen and Henry hostage now.
Right, of course.
Morgan Freeman in this movie. How can I put this? I feel like Morgan Freeman is almost the same character in every movie. He has that. Okay, I'm not gonna say that. Let me not say that. As a thief, Morgan Freeman has to be the most calm, the most relaxed, awe-inspiring thief ever. I feel like no matter what he does, he has to give you a speech.
Oh yeah.
Long time when I was a little boy, I dreamt of robbing an armored car truck for $3 million. And, you know, and it's like, you know, and I'm not joking. Morgan Freeman was born at age 45. Let's just be real.
It's true.
His baby pictures was like already gray hair and everything.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And those freckles.
And the freckles. Absolutely. Tom gets Jim to let them go by promising he'll show them where the money is. And it goes back to that awesome scene in the beginning where Jim literally says, "We just want the money." It's a trailer shot.
Right.
And it's a beautiful trailer shot.
Yeah.
Because you're literally, like, what do you do in that situation? You're literally submerged in water. You're on this boat. You have $3 million of armored car money. And a group of dudes are trying to kill you to get it. You know? And we just want the money. I think that scene and that line, it could possibly be my iconic scene. Because it's something, it's something about the way he presents that problem for him. You know what I'm saying? Obviously, when other stuff, you know, emerges later on, but just that particular scene, that, you know, the introduction to that character and his band of thugs, they're not leaving this town without that bag.
No, of course.
So give me the bag.
It's interesting because, like, it kind of forces a question upon you. What would you do for $3 million? Like, would you literally go in a town that is about to be destroyed totally completely to rob an armored vehicle that you caught wind of by luck, literally by luck, if you really think about it, because you just basically broadcasted something out to radio waves, and then a scanner picks it up, and they know their exact location. Right. You know, how far would you go at that point? Would you take a shot at it at first, and then realize it's just not worth it, and cut your losses again, and just head out? What would you do?
If Morgan Freeman was my leader, I'd pretty much be down with what he's gonna do.
What if you were Morgan Freeman?
If I was Morgan Freeman, I have a really dope speech, and I'd go for the cash. You know, I would definitely execute it a lot better, but I would probably go for the cash.
Yeah.
I mean, you're in a town that's underwater for the most part. We have what we need to get through this issue.
Yeah.
We just gotta get the bag.
Yeah.
So, you know, unfortunately, Ed Asner has to take that bullet. Slater may have likely taken the bullet as well.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like he was ever affected by it throughout the entire movie.
And that's your uncle, dude.
Yeah.
Like, that's your uncle.
Well, I think he was affected in some sense by in that aspect. But didn't Slater get didn't he get skimmed by one as well during that scene?
I think he got grazed by one.
He got
for
grazed
sure.
by one.
Yeah. Let me see.
I think at that point, like if I was on the opposite side of that coin and I was the armored car driver and my uncle just got shot and killed, in front of me, and then I just got shot at, and I just got grazed by a bullet, I'd probably abandon the car. I think I would want to say, you know what? It's not my $3 million.
Yeah, at that point, fuck the money. You can have it. I don't want it. It's not even mine. I don't care. It's all insured anyway.
Right,
There
exactly.
you go.
There you go. You know.
Have fun with it. Hopefully, no blue ink fucked your face up. But whatever.
Oh man, wouldn't that have been epic if that actually happened? They pulled that off just like they did.
Well, then Hard Rain would officially become a comedy because you went through all this for nothing.
Yeah.
For
there were
nothing.
parts of it that were pretty funny.
True, but to be like such as this balls to the wall,
right.
Tense situation for them to actually get the money. Let's say they actually got the money.
Right.
Open the bag up and then, the blue ink hits you. This has officially become a comedy.
Call on the ghost of Dennis Hopper. Just
my money! You son of a bitch, Jack!
No!
I love Speed. That's a great fucking movie, dude. That's an awesome flick. So on the way to the cemetery, Jim reveals to Tom that the National Guard was never coming.
Right.
Because Charlie was actually calling the gang.
Right.
Bit of a bait and switch kind of a deal, which is fine. And
spoiler alert, that's not the first betrayal that happens in this movie.
No. And it's also not the last either. He was only killed because Kenny was never told that Charlie was on their side.
Right.
And so Jim then sends Tom to retrieve the money, but finds it's gone.
Yeah.
Somebody took it.
Yeah.
And when the gang are pretty much about to shoot Tom out of anger, they get ambushed by Sheriff Mike.
Yeah.
And his deputies, who've also found Karen.
So the good guys are in. The cavalry's here. Dun, 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 dun.
So we think. So Mike, having just lost re-election, now doesn't care anymore about justice, and he intends to keep the money for his damn self.
Yep. Given the scene, his one young deputy was like, "You spent 20 years protecting this town. You know, the town has done so much for you." He's like, "The town means shit to me now."
But you're the sheriff.
Right.
I'm the what? That was the line, right?
Anymore.
I'm the what?
First off, bad personnel overlook. I mean, if you're at Indiana State Police and your sheriff just lost, and it's a natural disaster that's supposed to wipe out a town, why is he still there? Why haven't you put him out to pasture at that point? Just say, "Hey, thanks for all your hard work for us."
Well, because let's say this is a small town, so I would assume not everybody's in a running to become sheriff. So let's
He
just
did lose an election.
He lost an election.
And where was that sheriff? Did he already skip town at that point?
I think he did. Oh my God, I think he did. Because you never saw the new sheriff.
No, you don't even
Son
find
of
out
a
his
bitch.
name. You don't find out his name.
He left when the first raindrop happened. Oh my God. I didn't even think. Wow. I didn't even think about that until just now. Like, where was the other sheriff?
Like, was he not sworn in? Did the election just happen like the day before, and they're waiting for all the votes to be tallied
He said, "Listen,
in?
man, I'm out.
Right.
I'm out. I got family in Indianapolis. I'm out."
So hold on. So now think about this. So this guy just gets elected sheriff to a town that gets destroyed.
I'm out.
How does that look on your resume?
It don't matter. It does not matter. Because clearly, I can't be the sheriff of a town where nobody's fucking here.
Right, exactly.
So who am I sheriffing? Like, what am I policing around here? You know what I'm saying? If anybody sticks around this time, you're into something that you shouldn't be involved in. So therefore, I being the sheriff, I'm out. That has nothing to do with me at this point. But wow, I didn't even think about that. They don't even mention the new sheriff's name.
No.
Wow.
You know that Randy Quaid lost the election. You know that Sheriff Mike Collins lost the election, but you don't know where this new sheriff is when he comes into place. I mean, even in Walking Tall, like The Rock wins election, and he comes in and he fires the entire police department,
including
the next day.
Yeah,
the next day.
And the sheriff at the time, he goes bad.
Yeah.
And I guess that makes sense. But in this movie, like, nah, man.
Nah, they didn't care.
Sheriff Jackson got up out of there. He left a long time ago.
Part of the reason why it's probably 29% Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah, like, where the fuck is the other sheriff at this time? I don't know. But he basically he no longer cares about justice. He wants the money. And Wayne, Phil, and Hank, who has now joined them from the dam, Mr. Mailer and Ray, they get killed in that crazy shootout. Another great scene, by the way. Yeah. That shootout was dope.
No, it was.
That was a great shootout.
There were a lot of really good shootout scenes. Like they really took their time on that, and I can appreciate that with the disaster heist action / movie comedy.
So Jim and Tom, they escape in the boat. They find the sanctuary of the church. Now Wayne takes Karen back to her house with the intention of raping her.
Yeah, this is
not necessarily a scene that was needed.
Now let me be fair. This is the first time I had seen this movie
ever. Seriously?
Yeah.
Wow.
I don't remember like it ever coming out. It's a January movie. January movies usually don't do that well.
They genuinely suck.
Office, right? And so
you should see next week's movie. Oh yeah.
So when I watched it, I've seen the next one. I can't wait for that one.
Oh yeah.
So when I watched it and I saw this scene, I was like, are they really going here?
Yeah.
I was like, no, they really shouldn't be going here.
It should. You know what? I think because it comes so suddenly.
Yeah.
I really do feel like it deserves to be part of my cut that out because I'm like, I don't necessarily think we need this.
You know what? I agree. It's unnecessary.
It's just shoehorned in there.
Yeah, and it just kind of it goes against that. I mean, there was a point to it because it winds up. It was, you know what it was? It was like it had to be a plot device that was in there to kind of make sense for how one of the next quote unquote epic scenes would later make sense. But it could have just been done better. You know, they could have done a cheesy pun like you're under house arrest, and then that's that. You know, and then
but no, I'm gonna try to rape you too.
No.
All right, Harvey Weinstein, let's do it. The others tried to force Tom and Jim, force them out by throwing petrol bombs on the roof. But instead, are forced to drive through the stained glass windows. At Karen's house, Karen manages to stab Wayne with a penknife, killing him.
Yeah.
It should have been a kick in the you should have kicked him in the junk and then stabbed him.
So, once again, kids, if you get a Swiss Army knife, not only could you unscrew
this movie is presented to you by Swiss Army
by
knife.
Swiss Army, you could also legitimately kill a guy who's trying to force himself upon you.
Yes,
Just remember that.
Swiss Army knives, saving lives one day at a time. In the church, another shootout breaks out. At one point, Tom and Phil, they come face to face, but Phil can't bring himself to shoot him.
Yeah,
which I thought was a weird transition.
It was
because especially leading up to this point, when your whole mission now is to take Tom out of the equation.
Yeah.
So you can get this money and get the fuck out of town.
Right.
So now that you're face to face with him, and you hesitate, and you had a golden opportunity to take him out.
Yeah.
Obviously, because Christian Slater, you can't just kill Christian Slater.
No, of course not.
But Hank then shoots Phil, thinking he's a coward.
Right.
Officer Hank.
Right.
So so they don't necessarily speak on the fact that if Tom's actually from this town, if he grew up in this town.
Good question.
Is he? This is his hometown?
I don't think so.
No, I don't think they don't actually speak on it.
No, they never talked about it, but you didn't get the feel of it either. Because here's the reason why. For such a small town, and I mean this town probably had no more than 2,000 people. It was like he didn't recognize anybody that was there. It was like he didn't really know anybody. He didn't know the sheriff, even though he knew where the police station was. That could have been a job description. That could have been where exactly am I supposed to go, for this. But no, I don't think he was from there. I think he was probably from one of the bigger cities. I could easily see him be from
Indianapolis or Chicago. Yeah,
Chicago's literally right there.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. It was a little interesting. I mean, the reason why it's so that's so important is because he really knew, like after a while, he really knew his way like around the town and his way to like oh, where am I going to stash the money here?
Well, let's be real. It's a small town, so as an armored car driver, people should know who you are.
Right? Yeah.
I mean, they never really specify, the population in this town. I would imagine
has to be ballpark range 2,000 people.
Maybe
we're
three
talking
max.
maybe's.
Yeah, 3 max maybe.
Yeah.
But even Dante's Peak had about 4,000 people that lived there.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah, I mean, it was a resort town.
But once again, this is also a town where the sheriff is non-existent.
Right.
He got up out of there in a heartbeat.
But they at least have an operator for the dam. So this town has to be big enough to require a dam.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not big enough for the sheriff to consider important.
It's not big enough for the sheriff to really give a shit. Like, yeah, I'm out. See, I'll go ahead and handle that. I'm definitely out, though. So the dam overtopping the alarm, the alarm sounds, alerting the town that the dam is going to fail.
Right.
Eventually, it's going to give.
Right.
Offering a deal, Mike says to Tom, Mike says Tom and Jim should let Hank and him go.
Right.
With a couple of the money bags.
Right. Just 2 money bags.
Just 2 of them. And, Tom agrees, yet Jim does not. Instead, Tom leaves to try and save Karen, but Mike shoots Jim with a revolver.
Right.
He was, that he hid. Although he isn't badly hurt. So Mike and Hank, they escape in the boat, and when they are when they're forced to go faster to avoid the wave that's getting ready to engulf the town, the sheriff pushes Hank out the boat, and then he dies after being caught in the gas explosion. Another awesome scene because you would think with all this water, there's no fire getting through here, but damn it, it comes.
Oh man, and it's an explosion. Like you can.
It's huge.
It's bad.
It's huge. I couldn't believe it. Definitely one of my favorite scenes. Absolutely, because now it's every man for himself.
Of course, because at this point you got to remember, Tom has no want for the money. Mm-hmm. Karen has no want for the money. So you could see them being on each other's side. Mm-hmm. The sheriff wants at least a portion of the money for him to go out to greener pastures. But Jim
to go and elect somewhere else.
All the money.
Right.
He wants all the money because that was part of that little agreement. Why didn't he just accept, okay, two cash bags? 2 cash bags? Okay, yeah, you can go ahead with 2 cash bags. No, Jim was like, no, I'm here for the money. This is what I want. This is what I've lost friends for, basically. And that's what I want. That's what I want to deal with. That this is my goal. This is everything that I've wanted. Now, that's not to say that he's not a good-natured person. There's not a lot of question when it comes to, at this point in the movie, what his nature is. But it's very much he wants to get paid. He wants his money.
Well, that's the overall goal. He needs to get paid.
Right.
And so you have that. So Tom gets to Karen's house. Another good scene. I do like the scene a lot. Tom gets to Karen's house to find her handcuffed to a banister.
Right.
He tries to free her with the saw. Doesn't work.
Right.
Then he uses Wayne's gun. At this point, the water is so high now. They have to get to the roof, and then they get caught by Mike.
Right. Now remember from earlier, because of the jail scene, once again the movie decides to say, hey, let's go ahead and do the plot device of the first option doesn't work. Oh, there's a second option. Oh, there's a third option. For them to escape the dire circumstances.
Exactly. Exactly.
And I think that's a really strong strong point to the story. Yeah, at that point, two times in the same movie, you could probably say that that's an overexposure, but it was still a very, very good plot device in it. In that case, it was like, if you look at that scene, you could say, well, you never want to say give up until you know for sure that there's zero hope
whatsoever.
Which is why I'm hoping that next year the Atlanta Falcons will find a way to win a Super Bowl again.
Or we get a hard rain too.
Right, yeah. Or we get a hard rain.
You never know. Jim, who he manages to escape from the church, comes from behind them in the boat. And this was actually a pretty creepy scene that I did enjoy.
Right.
Mike shoots at him, disabling the steering, forcing him to go over the roof. And as he does so, the engine breaks off and collides with Mike, knocking him into the water.
Yeah.
However, he's not dead.
No.
Fucking die already, Sheriff Mike. Oh, my God. But he tries to shoot Karen as he grabs the money bag, but Tom and Jim manage to shoot him dead. So now, Sheriff Mike, non-elected officer Mike, Sheriff Mike is officially dead.
The sheriff formerly known as Mike.
The sheriff formerly known as Mike. Tom tells Jim you should leave, and just as the state police arrive, Jim picks up Mike's money bag, rolls away, and Tom tells Karen the fire damage to the church wasn't too bad and it can be repaired. So I do like the way this movie wrapped up. Yes. I think the way it wraps up, it shows, though Jim is presented to be one of the bad guys.
Right.
And at the end of the day, he's not out to really hurt anybody.
No.
He's not out to really, do anything really, homicidal. No. He just wants the money.
No. They do this a lot, especially during this kind of time of year where it's like the bad guy has bad intentions but isn't necessarily a bad guy. One clear example that actually comes up later this year is The Rock, Sean Connery, Ed Harris. Ed Harris, who is presented to be this bad person who steals nuclear weapons and this weapon that can decimate the city of San Francisco, basically gets called out on his bluff and realizes that his honor is more important than that. Mm-hmm. So it's just like he did a bad thing, but he's not a bad guy.
Exactly.
Right.
Which, what makes that character that much more conflicted. So for me, very similar between the Morgan Freeman character and the Harris character because, like you said, he did a bad thing.
Right.
He's not a bad man, though.
Right.
So that's Hard Rain. Yeah, that's Hard Rain. So let me ask you this before we get into takeaways. A movie like Hard Rain, do you see it having the opportunity, the potential to be remade today?
Yes, but not named as Hard Rain.
The name sucks.
The name is pretty terrible. No, the same sense of putting a movie that can deal with a natural disaster and a heist, combining those two tropes. Yes, I think that can definitely work. Especially with, they combine everything now. Sharknado, any giant crocodile movie. Of course, I'm only talking about B movies, but as an A-listed star movie, yeah, I think it's possible. I think with the right budget and I think with the right idea, it can kind of make sense. Like I don't know, a hurricane. You're dealing with frigid temperatures and you have to beat the clock for this to happen. So maybe people are thinking of, maybe this bank vault can only be opened up through extreme cold.
Right.
And all of a sudden they have to say, well, we have to time this perfectly, we have to survive the storm, blah, 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 blah. You get the idea from there. That's just, there you go. That there's $100 million idea for you, Hollywood. But, just a general, the concept can work. Just, you can't name it Hard Rain, and you can't, it have to be exactly what this kind of movie already is. It has to be a spiritual sequel all over again. Because spiritual sequels, the beauty of it is, they follow a formula that kind of happens. There are certain elements that's sprinkled in, an idea. Here's an idea of spiritual sequels. Goodfellas, the movie that would be considered a spiritual sequel after that is Casino.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, literally, they casted Joe Pesci in a very similar role in that. And so on and so forth. Christian Slater is basically Keanu Reeves in this. Even Blade Runner has spiritual sequels in Soldier.
Oh yeah,
yeah,
totally.
There's a lot of uniqueness that comes from spiritual sequels. But the problem is that you have to make it original enough for it to be called its own, but still be considered a spiritual sequel. So I think the trope can work. I just don't know if there's a movie out there on the horizon that could be made right now today.
So let's get into takeaways with David Neff. You can do the honors, my good man. Who's getting your That Guy award?
Oh, man. I'm actually going to say the husband of Betty White. He had a very, very, very small, insignificant role, but he had 2 legendary lines in the movie, and I actually wrote them down. As they are basically bargained for their life, Betty White, who at this point has kind of become a little bit insufferable in the movie, because she's just kind of complaining and just kind of being this person that she's not bringing anything positive to it. He turns this rowboat around back to the killers, and she's like, "What are you doing?" And he goes, "I'm going to go back there and see if he would shoot me, you or me. Either way, I'm fine with it." and so she starts kind of complaining again, and he says, and he turns the boat around and he says, "Do you want me to get us the hell out of here?" And she's like, "Yes." Then shut the fuck up. I couldn't stop laughing.
Betty White, man. That's my girl, man. I got to tell you.
Overall for the movie, Morgan Freeman, for sure.
You're That Guy award.
Yeah, he stole every scene that he was in. It was tough to dislike what he was trying to pull off, but at the same time, it was like, man, you're really doing a pretty despicable thing.
Right. Who's getting your That Chick award?
I mean, Minnie Driver, probably. Minnie Driver had really, really strong scenes in terms of having the survivability. And it's weird because nowadays you're seeing female trope movies that that are cast as these lead, and that they can show that, hey, girls can completely lead a movie, no problem whatsoever. And it's interesting to see Minnie Driver kind of being one of those forefront people, at least in this movie, to kind of start that back in the 90s.
Right. Who's getting your This Fool award?
Oh man, Kenny.
Kenny?
Yeah, he just had so many dumb ideas. From the electric. Come on, how? They're literally telling you in the movie. First off, his death was just. First off, I thought he died when he crashed through the wall in the school.
Right.
And then he just, he shoots Charlie just to shoot, Oh, I thought he pulled his gun. It sounded like a reason to shoot somebody.
He just wanted to shoot him. You could tell he just wanted to shoot him.
Exactly. And then even his death was dumb. His death was literally, he did not remember that metal and electricity really don't go well together.
No. Dumbass is what I would call it.
Terrible.
Cut that out. What are you cutting out?
The rape scene.
Definitely.
It's bad.
Yeah. Iconic scene.
I think the jail cell. I think that was just a really, really strong scene because it was one of those times where you could tell that both the director and the team leading it was like, hey, let's kind of up the stakes a little bit in this scene. Let's just not have him escape the jail cell. Like, what's so great about that? Let's have him escape from the top of the jail cell while he's underwater and basically drowning, while receiving help from our strong female power.
Not bad. For me, my That Guy award is going to go to Tom. He is an armored car driver. He really doesn't give a shit about his job. No. Let's be honest. And I respect that. I definitely respect that. Like, I just want to get this shit alive. So I could really care less. That chick award, I would give it to Betty White because that's Grandma Betty. But I would give it to Minnie Driver's character because she just didn't take any shit.
Right.
And she was willing to go the distance as far as making it out of the situation alive, and doing it from a noble standpoint to where she refused to be a victim, which is very honorable for me.
Even at that last scene, the last scene where obviously we mentioned that Raina Quaid, he tries killing her. She had a gun pointed to him and actually pulled the trigger. It just so happened that the gun didn't fire at that point before he's finally killed by both Morgan Freeman and Christian Slater at that point. Mm-hmm. But it's still one of those things where it's like no, she refused to play that person. She was like, if I'm going to get this opportunity to pull the trigger, I'm going to pull the trigger.
You're damn right.
Yeah.
This full award has to go to Sheriff Mike. Mm-hmm. Has to.
Fair enough.
Well, correction. I think Sheriff Mike and the town of what's the name of the damn town again? Huntingtonburg. They straight up this fool because where the hell is the sheriff, the newly elected sheriff in this city, in this town? He'd been left, and Sheriff Mike, who has such a anger toward the city because he lost the election. Yeah, he has to get the full award for this one. Cut that out. I'm with you. The rape scene has to go.
Yeah, it's really awkward.
It's done in poor taste. It's really not needed. It's not needed.
No.
And of course my iconic scene. We just want the money. You guys walk away. Love that scene. 'Cause that doesn't put fear in your heart.
Yeah.
Like, dude, just give him the bag and let's go.
Yeah.
You know. For me, that's definitely a scene. I'm like, oh, dude, that's great. But yeah, all good though. So quick hits, and then we'll wrap this thing up. Kind of going a bit over time, but it's all good. We're having fun right here because we do it back to the classics. Right. Quick hits. At the time of filming, the movie had the largest painted scenic backdrop ever used in the film. I totally believe that.
Did not know that, but I believe it. I wonder if this movie had the most amount of water.
Oh, yeah. Used. Gallons. Had to be.
It did not stop raining at one point in this movie.
No, it rained the entire time. This movie was originally titled The Flood, but was changed because the filmmakers didn't want audiences to assume it was primarily a disaster movie.
Again, back to earlier, bad move.
Horrible move. In early stages of production, John Woo was slated to direct.
Yeah, I saw that. I was actually a little bit excited about that to see. I'd be interested to see that movie. John Woo actually directed it. Tell you what, the gun fights would be pretty spectacular.
Much better if Woo did that one. Absolutely. Let's see here. Let me see.
I got one for you.
What's up?
So the writer is Graham Yost. Mm-hmm. The director is Mikhail Solomon. Mm-hmm. Both of those directors would actually go on later on. Both the writer would become the director, and the director continue in the TV. And actually direct a couple episodes in the famous miniseries Band of Brothers.
On HBO.
Yeah.
Yes.
Both of them did.
Very true. Very true. In a 1997 interview with Empire Magazine, Minnie Driver stated she hated working on the movie due to the intense and continuous wet conditions. You don't say.
No kidding.
You don't say. Well, just watching this movie, like, I need a fucking towel.
I know.
I feel so wet.
I know.
Pause. But watching this movie. And of course, one more. A teaser trailer touting its original title, The Flood, was released months before its original May 2nd, 1997 release date. However, the film was delayed until January of 1998, not only allowing for more time in post-production, but an overhaul in the film's marketing campaign.
See, there you go. What did I already talk about with the marketing campaign?
Mm-hmm. As the disaster movie had found renewed interest in the late 90s with films such as Twister and Dante's Peak.
You're welcome.
Paramount wanted to differentiate the now retitled Hard Rain from those by focusing new trailers on the action and crime elements rather than the storm at the center of the plot.
How many movies do you see that you see the trailer and you think, oh, this is what this movie's about, and then it turns out to be completely different?
The first trailer was like, this is totally a disaster flick.
Right.
Totally disaster flick.
So it's like when you watch it and you see that the way that's marketed, they should have kept it the way that it should have been presented, and then let the audiences make their opinions.
Exactly. Man, this has been too much fun. Guys, get used to this dude's voice. He's gonna be hanging out with me for a few more episodes. trying out some things here. David Neff, thank you very much for hanging out with us today. Hard Rain, a movie that is hard to get through. I'll tell you that much for sure.
Yes.
Let the good people know where they can find you.
You can find me at David Neff Transforms is my personal website. I do a little bit of physical therapy training through that. You can also find me at drafttech.com, where I am actually the writer for the New England Patriots. We are currently in draft season, so if you are interested in finding out which picks could possibly be most important to you for all your draft needs, go to drafttech.com.
Nice. And you, of course, you can find me on all the social media simply at I am Jay Alonzo. That's Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter. You talk to me, I'll talk back. The Facebook group, Back to the Classics, a movie talk group, is up and popping. Jump on in and join the conversation. We are on iHeartRadio, but we're also on iTunes, Spreaker, and YouTube. Go ahead, like, subscribe, share with us over there. And, of course, BeatNetworkOnline.com gets you the link to all the other podcasts we have, all the other content that we can share on BeatNetworkOnline.com. And, of course, you get all your mugs and all the other cool shit. And don't forget, we will be back next week with a great out of nowhere movie that I never dreamt in a million years I would talk about this movie. But I'm looking forward to it. We'll have a very special guest on next week. The beautiful and talented Miss Laura Owen will join us next week. Besides that, this has been fun putting the DeLorean back in the garage. This has been Back to the Classics right here on iHeartRadio. I'm Jay Alonzo with my guy,
David Neff.
David Neff, the Neffster. See y'all next week, y'all. Peace.